Well, it's a little bit early tonight, but you know, I was ready, and now the dog has decided to start howling, so that's fun. But we're going to get cracking with Hysene. There we go, let's get that up. So, Hysene the Executioner. I've put all the base coats down on her already, because, you know, you guys sitting there watching me base coat isn't really exactly the most exciting thing. But that's good. We did get all of the Fane Knights finished in a hobby hangout last night, so they're all done. I've got a second unit of those to do at some point soon, but we'll get to that. And you can see Strigon, Vordak, and all of the pieces. So they're up soon. And then it'll be the Prophet as well. Happy little chap that he is. And Sybaris. I haven't done him all in purple. I will do a Zubat one, I promise. But this one is going to be in my kind of weird green colours. So a little bit of work just to tidy him up and get all the metals done. But we're going to get Hysene done first. Hello, dog. Alright. Let's get going. I'm going to try some in the studio scheme. There's like a goldy kind of brass colour in a lot of places, and I've not done anything like that before. I've done quite a yellowy brass, but I don't think it's quite right. It needs to be a bit darker, so I've done this brass, but I want to do a much darker one than that, so I'm going to have a little bit of an experiment to see how that plays out and what we're going to do with that. But let's get some metals and stuff done first. I think we start with this big old whopping great sword that she's got, because that's unnecessarily huge. Lots more Fane of Nyrro stuff has landed now in the app. The new Death Whisper stuff, Ashmail and the Spymaster and all of those good bits. The Clivanesh, whatever they're called. They look really good. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing those on the tabletop. I'll be pre-ordering those on Tuesday when they hit pre-order. And I've got the My Mini Factory Extreme Hysene on the way as well, which would be cool. I don't know which one I'm going to use, so I'm just going to get them both painted. They both look pretty cool, so like this one, she looks pretty chilled out on this model. I get the impression she's someone who has zero chill, but we'll see. I don't know if you guys on stream can hear the dog huffing away, but it's a bit too hot for her. So okay. think all in here is supposed to be metal as well. I just missed it when I was doing my base coats. So maybe if this bit, yeah, so this bit's metal in here. I don't really want metal on metal, so maybe we'll do that in the brass. These plates in the brass. Because this bit's all one big metallic piece. Okay. I know I said we'd try Twitch at some point, but I haven't had a chance to go through and figure out how to do all of that, so that's going to be this next week's plan, and then there won't be a stream next weekend because I'm away for the Welsh Masters, but we will have some footage from that hopefully coming up soon. As before, if anyone's going to Welsh Masters, give me a shout. I will be there, as will Mike. Come look for us in the bottom tables, it'd be great. I think I went 5-1 last year, but I was mostly playing with the Phantasm and I wasn't very good with it. Got a lot more practice in with it since then, but now I'm not taking it this year, so we'll see how that goes. Now I'm taking Imperatus, who I have had little to no practice with, so this can only go well, right? If I learned anything last year, it's trust the Moraine list more, because I know what I'm doing with that. Yeah, this lovely corset put in. This looks super comfy, I'm sure. My understanding is no corset of any description is ever comfortable, so I suppose if you don't need to breathe, a corset is less of an issue, but got some runes engraved in this as well, so we need to make sure we get those nice and bright. Consideration how some armies can be more technical, yeah. That was quite a nice deal for like the conversation of making sure that armies were accessible and that you had ones that rewarded players that knew what they were doing, but also were accessible dependent on the caster that you're using. So Hysene's the brute force and ignorance one, so that filmed around, yeah. It's nice that that's a consideration for the team, that they want new players to be able to access the cool models and go, right, okay. Oh, I've got a support there that I've missed. How have I missed that this entire time? There we go. Just like that, support's all gone. Yeah, so they were saying that Hysene is the lower end of the spectrum for complexity for the Fane of Nyrro. She is as subtle as a brick. Basically, it's don't lose on scenario, apply Hysene to enemy. Whereas Ashmail, the new stuff revealed in the Death's Whisper box, is at the higher end of complexity. So he's looking very cool. He's very scenario focused. So he's looking to win by outmaneuvering people, not necessarily by murdering everyone else in the room. Whereas Hysene is very much the AK-47, when you absolutely positively have to kill every mother in the room, except no substitutes. But she can't be everywhere at once, so I can see me losing on scenario with her a few times before I get the hang of it. I don't think she's necessarily an assassination cast, although she's good at assassinating things because, you know, big old decapitation sword at whatever power her sword is, 15, 17? Something like that. She's just a solid melee option with a good amount of defensive tech. Storm Rager giving her, making her armor 18 or 19, whatever it does. Stacks up quite nicely. And her feet, let's see, Banzai in, kill what you need to. Under her feet gives her +3 armor if she gets a kill. And, you know, she's power lots with possible decapitation from her hunger abilities. So she can go through a heavy in 2 hits. That's important to time when you use it, because it's 7 hunger points to trigger the decapitation rule, but if you get a kill, you get 3 of those back. And then if it's her first kill for the turn, you gain another one as well. So she wants to be going in and killing things every turn, stacking up that hunger. I mean, we've got a few more ways to generate it now, so I feel like Giovanna's probably a good solo to take in Hysene's lists, because you can explode her for 1 hunger point for each round the game is on. So if you're on round 4, just remove her from the table and take 4 hunger points, and that can be enough to top Hysene up to 2 decapitation hits. And you probably only need 1 or 2 of those in a turn. I'm yet to put these guys on the field in anger, and whilst I would like to this week, I should probably practice with my House Callus. Close the window so you can't hear my charming next door neighbour effing and blinding. Right. Oh, I forgot a crown, hat, helmet thing. Looks like a big old croissant on her head. The croissant of judgment, maybe. Got the heroes and villains piece for Hysene as well. That dropped the other day, on Tuesday, I want to say. Monday. Earlier this week. And that was pretty cool, talking about her fall from grace as the leader of the Dawn Guard for the elves. Originally a highly respected holy paladin, and then she sided with the Fane of Nyrro during the revolt. Potentially corrupted by Ashmael, who was the spy master and her lover at the time. He dragged her down with him. He's the one with all the underhanded machinations. She just clubs things to death when she's told to. Right. Just making a couple of decisions here around which side the highlights are going to be, where we're going to leave the shadows on this. So I'm going to put the highlight on this side. So it means that then we're leaving our shadow colour here. We're just going to pick the edge of this corset out on this side. Just using the side of the brush there just to get that. And then this ridge, we want to make sure that that's got a nice strong highlight on it. And then we're just glazing a little more into this point, but we're leaving this almost completely as the shadow colour on this side. Give this a nice contrast. One of the tricks for non-metallic metal is having that highlight right next to your shadow colour to make it look like it's glistening and reflecting. And the more highly polished, the wider that highlight line gets. But I would like the Fane to be a little darker on the metallic front. So I'm not going as high with the highlight shades on these as I have with my House Callus. They've gone all the way up to white, just as the last little pins of colour, whereas this only goes up to underbelly blue, which is a nice yellowy blue. Adding that little bit of yellow in to the sort of build of the colours here just helps sell it a little bit more. And the white can look a little bit too much. What are these like flanged bat motif bits going on? Anyone would think there was a bat theme going on here. Haven't decided what colour to do these glowing runes yet. Kind of a greenish blue on the studio scheme. I'm thinking what I'll probably do is do them in a bright turquoise, because that then ties back into my House Callus colour scheme, which uses a kind of brightish turquoisey colour. Let me add a bit of white into that just to bring it all the way up. So maybe that's the answer for the glowing runes. Evening, Tycho. Hope you are feeling happy and somewhat healthy this evening. Wondering if we might be able to get this last all done this evening. Kind of getting into the groove for these guys now. And because I'm keeping the metallics a bit darker for these, they're a little bit quicker to do. Glaze in a bit of side boob there. A little bit on that one. Okay. Sentences you never thought you'd say. What are you guys painting this evening? Unless you're just completely hypnotized by what I'm doing. But Haven't arrived today. Happy days. This is good. I had my War Beasts arrive today, so they've arrived a few days early, which is cool. Fingers crossed that's a sign of things to come for SFG, the Warmachine company, doing their thing. Pre-orders arriving a couple of days early is a really good sign, I think. It just shows it's all organised and ready, and that they've got enough stock and they're not having to panic make stuff just to meet demand. So I'll see how this goes though. I'm going to be pre-ordering the rest of the Fane stuff as and when it drops, so we'll see if that continues. Bear cavalry for old Umbre. Very cool models. Big old chunky floofy boys and girls. At least I'm assuming. There's a good mix of male and female models in most of the units, aren't there? So I presume the bear cavalry's the same. No. Anyone can die to a blade, anyone can wield a blade. And discovered that there's a sword training academy over in Southampton. Slightly tempted to go and get involved. Kind of always wanted to learn how to wield a sword. Something tells me it'll never be anything this dramatic. Because, you know, fantasy swords are not reality swords. And I can only imagine how heavy that thing would be. I've got a claymore upstairs that's 4.5 feet long. That's a good few kilos of metal. Whereas this is very chunky and thick. The claymore is not as dense as this. It's girthy. Like a big girthy sword, eh? Something a bit softer to rest my elbow on. This desk is not the most forgiving. hopefully I'll be up to. Well, I've got games day tomorrow down at Entoyment as well. So I'll be running demos and things down there. So I'll be down with both my Fane of Nyrro and my Dusk House Callous. I can't just call them Dusk anymore, they're both Dusk. That's how this works. So hopefully we'll see a few people down there as well. I know Mike's going to be down. I think Robin's doing his Rock and Ribs festival. Unfortunately, even with the new rules released, I don't have the models to run 100 points, so I can't take Fane of Nyrro to the Welsh Masters. Sad vampire noises. But my understanding from the stream, the SFG stream the other night, is that some of them will be. So fingers crossed I will get my first opportunity to play into Fane of Nyrro. To let you know how that goes if that happens. We also had confirmed that Fane of Nyrro's Colossal Gargantuan will be released in November. So the giant Cathedrabat. Don't really know much more than that, but means that pretty much all of Fane of Nyrro will be out by the end of the year. Which will be great. Quite liking the Mark IV style of armies being a bit more limited release, so you're not loads more stuff coming all the time, and an army is complete-ish. You know, they still say that, you know, if it needs something else, or if we have a brilliant idea, they'll add some more bits, but you know, House Callous probably not getting a lot else, unless they do get a 6th caster at some point, which would be nice, but and that's fine, because it means that, you know, once I've finished painting everything, I have a fully painted army, and that's that. And then I can buy into something else, should something else pique my interest. Black Fleet. I've got a reasonable army backlog at this point now. Murder, death, kill. Like, well, yeah. It's generally how I approach things. I have a horrible tendency to go for assassination over scenario play. So I've been playing the more scenario-focused casters for the last few months just to try and be a bit more scenario-minded. And it's good because, you know, your opponent's playing for scenario usually, so... And it means I'm thinking about it more, getting myself in better positions. Also means you can preempt where they're going to put stuff a bit more. Which means you can kill them easier. As we know, everything's an assassination tool. Nearly done with the metals already on this. Got these big old rune glowy boulders. Not sure whether to do them as like a white marble or just as like big stone pillars. Never really tried to paint marble before, but we can potentially give it a go. Not out too ham with that. There we go. We'll figure her hair out as well. We've got a huge mat of hair. So we'll figure out how we're going to do that. Get some washes into that and see how it looks. There we go. She's coming together quite quickly. I figured doing the metal would take most of the effort out. She's mostly just heavily armoured. Yeah, looking forward to playing some games tomorrow. I've got some games organised for later in the week as well. So get a bit more practice in. I actually managed to play a game in a few weeks now, so hopefully I haven't forgotten how it all works. But looking forward to tomorrow and getting more of the folks down at Entoyment playing. Brighton's big old horn up on her hat. Wonder how many people she has impaled on that. I think I'm intrigued to see what the other bits and pieces are going to be doing for Fane, especially the fat vampire, Harasheth. I wonder if he's going to be the last caster. He seems to be the one that a lot of people are pretty excited about. But I'm getting some definite Pearl vibes from the Blade movie. I really kind of hope he's like the librarian as well. Then I know they were definitely watching Blade when they came up with that. Keeper of the Scrolls. Oh, such a good film. What age is that appropriate to show your children that film? Like 10 and 12, that's fine, right? It's probably not fine, is it? That would be bad parenting. Started rereading Dracula to get myself in the vampire mood. That's my current book. And then watched a bunch of vampire movies as well to get myself all in the right mindset for vampires. Watched Abigail for the first time the other day. That was pretty good. A bunch of mercenaries abduct what they think is some rich guy's, some like drug baron's daughter. It turns out that it's not really the case. And she's a several hundred-year-old vampire, and she is very upset with them. than like screaming and murder and death, which is fun. Okay, last little bit. My underbelly blue's separated a little bit. Happy at least. Yeah. It's an interesting film. It's on Netflix. I think it's on Netflix. Worth a shot if you've got an hour and a half to kill. Don't get me wrong, it's not winning any Oscars, but not every film is like that, so if you got any vampire movies that you think I should be watching, give me a shout. I did start watching Nosferatu again the other day, but I tend to watch films as a background noise, and obviously it's a silent film, so you kind of have to watch exactly what's going on, because there's no dialogue to listen to while you're doing else things. I haven't seen the 2024 remake from Dusk Till Dawn, one of the best vampire movies of all time. Dusk Till Dawn. You're like, here is a crime movie, here is a buddy road movie, here is a weird thing, here is a vampire movie. Sorry, what? And there's a Netflix remake of Interview with the Vampire that I need to watch as well. Although, do I is the question. It's an odd one to remake because like it's a bit of a timeless classic, and it's not like the original has lost anything. So I don't know. So there's a 2024 Nosferatu that's on my list to pick up at some point and watch. I haven't found that on any streaming service yet, so that's gonna have to be a trip down to HMV or something. Oh, nearly there. trust the process moment, finish layer and highlights. Okay, yeah. There's always those bits when you're painting, isn't it, where you're like, oh, it looks great, and now I have to do this thing which looks like it's going to ruin it, and oh no. I think the one I've had recently was my thrall flesh for the Dark Operations, the drudges, and it starts off like proper fluorescent purple. Yeah. Soft tone's great though. The army painted tones are really, really good. Like, I swear by them for a lot of stuff. The dark tone, especially when you're using any kind of metallic paint, is just done. There we go. On to the last bit of the sword. And then we just got the hat to do, and I think we're pretty much done with the metal. I'll figure out this sort of brownish brass. They're a dark tone to define different parts of the model that are all black. Editing targeted layers. Yeah. Yeah, so with the tones, strong tone and dark tone, it's not you wash the whole model with it. You can just pick up like sections and just almost paint it in like you would a normal sort of shadow color, and then just build it up like that and just get some really defined shadows in there. Contrast paint Black Templar is also a great option. It needs to be black and then okay, yeah. Yeah, for any bit that's just to go quick black, and there's two black contrast paints, so you've got Black Legion and Black Templar, and one of them is like a blue black, the other one's quite a browny black, so you get two quite different finishes out of them. So I don't know how well you can see, but this one's quite brown and this one's quite blue, and then when you paint them over something it just comes out quite nicely. Yeah, in fact I've used one of the contrast paints to do, oh no, I'm losing base pieces, it's fallen apart. So black, all of the little nubs under here, these are just a quick wash over with one of the contrast paints, Black Legion. Cat hair stuck in that, great. And then I'm just going to go and pick them out with a quick highlight. Just want to keep the black sections of him quite simple where we can. Reattach this bit of basing rock. There we go. need to make this shine a little brighter. That's we need to do the front of this as well, because we haven't done that yet. Simple is the key, less is more. Then you need to use some base coats to tell the story of the model. So I don't share value in different. Yeah, that's a good way to look at it. It's especially with the current bits that you're working on, because you're doing the sepia tones for the old ombre, and they look great. But yeah, we are, you know, when we paint something, we're telling a story with it. You know, how battered, beaten up, fresh paint is this thing? Are we from the factory? Are we new recruits? Are we grizzled veterans with broken everything? Are we 1,000-year-old vampires? And how well do we maintain our equipment and things? So all of these things kind of should be considered when you're picking your paint scheme as to what you want to convey. So I'm going for a fairly studio scheme with this, so quite dark and broody looking. But I did see somebody did a mock-up of Hysene with like golden blonde hair, beautiful like fresh looking skin, and then like white creamy enameled armor, and it looked fantastic. And I do have a second Hysene, so maybe we'll play with her at some point and do something like that. I've never painted anything with like the marbly cream colour, especially in armor plates, so there we go. I think that's starting to read nicely. And sort of popping. Thank you. It takes a little bit of practice to figure out where the highlights need to go, but as long as you kind of look at reference pictures and then just follow it, and it's not too difficult. He says, having painted non-metallic metal for whole armies worth for about 5 to 7 years at this point. So, you know, everything's easy if you practice enough, right? Okay, let's get this skin done. So and start the lovely, lovely, healthy looking purple. And then this is like a neutral yellowy grey. So a very different grey to the ones we've used on the metal. So the base of all the metal ones is like a blue grey. So this is a yellow grey. So it just differentiates the skin, even though we're going to work through the same sort of levels of value. makes the two grey bits stand out. And then this yellow grey is actually the same grey that I've used to base coat the hair, which is Vallejo's Cold Grey, if anyone's interested. But where we've put the purple filter layer underneath, that will completely change how this sits, and it will give it a more fleshy tone, like a weird sickly flesh, but it will read more as flesh with that underneath. So you can see there on the hand, that's already looking very different to this, the grey of the armour. The power of filters. I'm a big fan of putting a sort of coloured layer on everything just to filter things through, and generally using a coloured undercoat as well, rather than just black or grey. Choosing a hue that you want for your model, either a cold or a warm, or a two-part one, so you've got like cold in places and warm in other places, and then that will help guide the rest of the model, and it will make it feel, even if you paint exactly the same colours over the top, they'll feel warmer or colder depending on what colour you've used for your undercoat. So hence the purple undercoat on the skin, because that's a weirdly warm purple. Purple's an odd one, you can have warm and cold in it, depending on which kind of purple it is. Obviously blues are a cold colour, greens are fairly neutral, purples can be either depending on which one it is, and then what you put on top of it, because we're putting a yellow grey on top. You get a bit of warmth. Playing around with, yeah. Well, you know, if you will copy my non-metallic metal shenanigans, then you'll be fine. I've seen your painting. Then we're actually highlighting the cold grey with pale flesh. I need a little bit more grey. My grey's running out. So to kind of reinforce that flesh tone, even though we're then gonna bleach it out with a white, we still want to get some of that flesh tone in there, even if it's quite subtle. Because your eye will still pick that up. I get those eyes glowing out nicely as well. So what we're also going to do is I'm actually using a bit of watered down Plague Bearer flesh, which is this like sickly green. I'm just watering that right down and then washing over the skin, which is what it did on this chap. So you end up with a bit of a green tone in the flesh, just a really tiny bit. I'm actually leaving a lot more purple showing on this, so I might not do that on her. So she's looking a little healthier. So with the Fane of Nyrro and the Eldritch, the more recently they've fed, the more healthy their flesh looks. As she's in charge, I'm assuming she gets to feed more often than the lower vampires. Or Eldritch, because everyone refers to them as vampires, but technically not. They don't drink blood, they suck people's life essence away. Lovely little nose. Chin. Okay. I want to get in there and get those eyes to really pop. There we go. There. That's poppy eyes going on. Okay. So let me tackle the hair next, which I'm going to need more grey. I go up to a white with that, and then I think what I'll do is a dark tone wash. My nozzle's all clogged. Get the paper clips out. What was I saying? Yeah, I'll go all the way up to a white, wash it with the dark tone, and then re-push in the last 2 stages of highlights probably. That is the sound of my dog lying down. She is not subtle. Oh, you Zosh. Okay. I got these little hair clips as well. Oh, and I've just realised there's a little bit more of the hat that sticks out the back here. Rubbish. Well. I'll have to go in and get that in a minute. I always love finding a piece that you've missed halfway through the model. It's great. I'm hoping that by the end of the week we should have this whole box done. I have a second lot of them as well, but paint all the hair. Imagine having to brush all of this. That's some big hair going on. I think Hysene even rivals D. Snyder's hair. All these, I don't know what colour to do these little hairbands. Oh, there's a little metallic plate in there as well. Who armours their hair? That's why it's so big and luxurious. There's another one there. Because she armour plates it properly. Is this how we stop myself going bald? Tying armour into my hair. Or do we think that has more to do with being an immortal vampire? Oh, it's on a postcard. More evil, more hair. I see. Is that how it works? Does that mean I'm becoming less evil as my hair falls out? And does that then mean Annie Lennox was evil? I mean, it means most people in the 70s and 80s were evil, right? Kind of era of big hair. Hang out and paint without playing games. There is a painting area at Firestorm Games, but it is downstairs. And last year, the Warmachine wargaming tables were upstairs, so so you can hang out and play games or paint and stuff, but you're not with all the sweaty folks upstairs as we puzzle everything out. I'm playing Watchmachine, as China calls it. She sits and watches everyone play. And make sure none of the staff reveal any spoilers that they're not supposed to. These bits in here. Trying to follow the flow of the hair, but where we're right in this tiny little gap, that's a bit difficult. All right. Oh, that's a big old mass of hair. And we're not going to go quite all the way to pure white, but I know when we start running games down at Entombment, we're going to run some tournaments down there. Again, they do have a painting area, but it is around the corner and slightly outside of the tables, so but if I'm TOing the tournament, not getting to play, maybe I'll get to paint a little bit in between rounds. Who knows? Well, while everyone's playing. Yeah, what colour do we reckon we want to do all these little bangles in her hair? Oh, whether doing them in the red is the answer. They'll certainly stand out and it'll add a bit of colour to the back, but then we've got the big splash of the red that's going to be there. So I don't know whether we'll need it, but red is an evil bangle colour. I mean, are bangles evil? Are the bangles evil? Is it just another Manic Monday? It's Saturday. It's not a Manic Monday. I think I'll try the red. I'm going to paint these two metal bits first, but I think maybe I'll paint this red and then we'll come back and revisit those bangles and see what we think, yeah? And do some painting by committee. Oh, she's got so much hair. where I've been painting cephalics for a few months. There's not been a lot of hair going on there. And they're definitely more evil than the vampires. It's all about motivation, isn't it? The vampires are doing it so they can be in charge and have an unlimited food supply. The cephalics are doing it because they can do cruel, unnecessary experiments on people and they get off on that. So I'd say the cephalics are more evil. In the absence of hair, they have massive heads. Do you reckon it's just their hair growing into their brain? Their massive evil hair? This Thexus's secret is giant evil dreadlocks underneath that armoured exterior, yeah? Internal afro, yes. There we go. Come to look at the Fane of Nyrro models and talk painting. Get weird internal afro things going on. Never shy away from the strangeness here. Okay. Maybe it's infernal afro. Do we think then the Orgoth, who are trying to make themselves immortal and appease demonic entities from beyond space and time, are they more evil? Nearly there on the hair. Oh, there's a mighty amount of hair going on. Right. Okay. Do we think the definition on that? They're just misguided and they need a hug. They're quite spiky, I don't think they need hugs. Right. Do we think that's enough definition, or do we think a wash and then a highlight back up is a good plan? Yeah. Let's sort of highlight there. Let's just put that in. Let's brighten up this hat a little bit. Looking good. I need to get that bit on the back. So we have a big metal bit there. and 2 metal plates down here. Let's dry for 2 seconds. When you're working on small parts, it's important to give it a second to dry. Otherwise you end up unintentionally wet blending. And whilst wet blending is great, when you're not expecting it, can be a problem. Okay. Suitably hairy, she's saying there. Right, let's get this red in and then we can have a think about what we're going to do with this brown brass. And we got a base coat of Sanguine Shadow down, and then we're going to highlight with Cador Red. Not straight to Cador Red, but we're going to mix a couple of ways across. It would be a bit of a jump just to go straight from one to the other. So let's just get the first tone there. It's kind of almost 50-50. It's going to be quite a big jump, but where we're gonna glaze it on for a couple of layers and go almost completely into the recesses with it anyway, we're not going to leave a lot of that Sanguine Shadow showing, so it's not going to be too stark a jump. And then what we'll do as well is glaze a couple of the other layers over the top as well. Once we get up to all the way up to the Cador Red, we'll do a super thin glaze of that all the way over, and that will just bring the whole lot together. So it's just that. I'm going to figure out these pillars as well. How marbly bright do we want them? Which is ending up being quite a bright model overall, so we can afford the base to be a bit darker. I figured we'd look at potentially a bone kind of creamy marble colour for that rock if we needed to bring more colour into it, but I'm not sure that we're going to. So maybe it'll be a darker mossy greeny stone perhaps, because we haven't really got any green tones in the rest of the model, so quite like to use the base to set things off a little bit. So we'll use a cool model on a warm base or something like that. But we'll see when we get to it. To be fair, I might put the brown base coat down on it soon, because that takes a little while to dry. Okay. I'm just going to go for a second coat of this in just to shore it up a little bit where it's gone in. We've gone in quite thin with it. We just want to make sure it's got a good coverage. Again, this time we're pretty much covering all of that sanguine shadow, where it's again a thin coat. It's just giving us a nice even layer. Again, I'm trying to keep it all in the same direction. He says then changing direction, but okay. A bit of a nuisance getting. There we go. Cool. And then we're just going to do another mix, but this time more Kato red than sanguine shadow. Kind of where it's probably 2 parts sanguine shadow to 1 part Kato red before, now it's the other way. And then again thin, but we want this to be a very luxurious, vibrant red. Again, trying to keep it all flowing in the same direction. I'd like to try and keep any cloth highlights all go in the same way. It just sits a little better. Okay. Not always possible because of this big old rock in the way, but doesn't look good. We need to give that a second to dry. Well, that's going in very thin. What I'm just going to do is, I've got a bit of battlefield brown. We're just going to, I probably need a bit more. Top that up. Put that back up here. And then just get a chunky brush. Doesn't matter too much at the point on this because we're just pushing this into the floor. So this is very heavily watered down, but it's a very strong pigment ratio on the battlefield brown from P3, which is really good because it makes it excellent for painting the base. And you know, it's the battlefield part of the model, so it's exactly the right color. So where these guys are sharing some models with my House Callus army in the final hunt, I've kept the basing similar on them. It's not exactly the same, but so the same paint schemes on it. The battlefield brown and then Lyosian flesh, but we are tweaking the colour of the rocks slightly. That's more around an individual model basis, so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do with these ones yet. And then I've got little tufts of flowers and things to go on, and so I'm using the dusk models are quite cold colours. They've got lots of blues and greys, whereas these guys have got all the big red cloaks and things, so these models are a bit warmer, so I'm using the blue, colder coloured flowers on these guys and the warmer reds and yellows on the House Callus guys. Let's go in with straight Cador red. Again, we're still going to cover quite a lot of this. We want this red to be a very, very vibrant one. I'm just going to blend that in a little bit and glaze it at the edges to make that a nice smooth transition into this. We're almost kind of glazing these on now, so we're got a little bit thicker on the edges, but where we want this to be super vibrant but still have some depth to it, we kind of want to glaze it on, let it dry, and then add in another layer of it glazed in. Just do a few layers like that at this point, and then what we'll do is we'll add a bit of texture in on the final highlight using some like jagged swooshes with our highlight, or little jaggedy tear bits. Grabbing that, so this has come out much stronger than this side, so just going to reglaze this with another load. Here as well. but just at the top, not down the bottom. Some on here. Then we're just going to basically go around and look at what it looks like once it's dry. And anywhere we're like, actually that needs to be a bit brighter, we just put another layer of the Cador red on, build it up slowly. Okay. And then in keeping with how we've highlighted other areas, I'm just going to use a little spot of pale flesh into Cador red to give us a sort of peachy colour. And this, what we're going to do is just put little stripes in on the edges. That just gives us a little bit of texture as we put those on, and it will make it look a little bit frayed and torn. So just a thin brush and then stripes just where we're highlighting. A little bit like stippling, like you would kind of stipple an armor plate or something, but this just gives it a kind of ragged looking edge. And these lines, it's kind of important to try and keep them going in the same direction. That way you get the image of like the stitches coming apart in it. So try and keep those at the same angle. Easier said than done on some of these models, but we're going to just hit all the edges around the hole as well. Any of these edges that are in the same direction. And then anywhere you think would be a little bit lighter, we can just put some stripes on it. And then if you need to then brighten it up, you just add a few more stripes to it and put them closer together. And that picks it all up nicely. Looking pretty good. So we've not got a huge amount left to do. So got the black armor, which is nice and quick. Let's sort that. Let's do this brown first. Let's see what we want to do. I think what we'll probably do, Scrofulous brown, but we're going to start with the Battlefield brown as our base coat. I think that's what we want to do. Let's have a quick look at the my dog's getting excited. Yeah, so this is kind of what I'm looking at. So I know this is like a brass colour here. And they've done the headbands red, so got all of these armour plates. So I'm thinking we kind of go somewhere between the brown and this, and then pick some white spots in it as chips and things, and I think that will look quite nice. Let's give it a go. Crossroads brown is the greatest colour. I know it's your favourite. The problem we've got now is that where I super watered down that Battlefield brown. It's now too watered down to adhere to the model. So let's just that's better. Verdigris gold. Yeah, well, we've got a couple of different verdigris out here, so we'll probably add a bit in. I don't know whether we want to add any rust into the metal as well. We do. Kind of harkens to the whole like undead thing, doesn't it? Put this plate here. We need to do a few of these other plates in this as well, I think. Maybe we'll hit this one. Did quite a lot on the other one. I think I'm going to do just a few on this. It's just nice to have it as a spot colour. Let's pick something out. And maybe we do this little panel in behind here. And then these bits. These weird extra knee plates of spikiness. There. That in there. So there should be another one. Yeah, there we go. There's another one of these plates just in the back here. So get that in. Make sure we got all the edges of this sword. And then I'll go do the back of the sword as well. Edge of these raised plates. I want to do this big chunk in the middle in this as well. Oh, and we were going to do these in this, weren't we? That's why they're not painted metal. Okay. Just making sure we got all of that. And there we go. We'll go through and pick all these runes out again later. Just trying to get the side of this piece without mucking up the metals that we've done. There we go. Okay. Do a nice little mix of this. Battlefield into the Scrofulous Broom. Just going to give that a second to dry, and I'm going to close this curtain because it's starting to get dark outside. Okay. Right. Let's get this first mix on. How much shadow we want to leave here. It's a bit of an experiment. Worst case scenario, it all goes horribly, horribly wrong. And we try something different, yeah? Okay. I feel like verdigris is an important one for any kind of brass or gold to really kick it off. And if you're going for gold, I always like to add some purple tones into it, because it reads a little better, tricks your brain a little bit if you add a bit in. Although that said, I don't really like gold as a colour, so I don't tend to paint things gold very often. Maybe a non-metallic copper would work very well for this, but I've not quite managed to land that before, so I have only tried it once, so maybe I should just try it again. That little vamp up Yep. She's getting there. Complete with her battle heals. Because, you know, nothing says I'm ready for combat better than giant ass heals, right? Hello, dog. Dog has come to whine at me. Oh, good evening, Damien. You a Warmachine player? You're looking at Fane of Nyrro, or what's your faction of choice? It's all a bit of an experiment. It's looking okay so far, but any non-metallic metal is always so it's the last sort of 2 steps that really brings it all together. So let's push some of this up. This big rune here is the whole Fane of Nyrro symbol with the big swirly, flamey bits around the orb. I don't know what that's. Other than the fact that it's the faction logo, I don't know if there's any significance to it. As Nyrro was the god of the sun, I think? Can't remember. Should probably know that. But, you know. I never played Elves before, so... Not before 4th edition, anyway. We're going to be, say, down in Toyment tomorrow, playing lots of games. Maybe I get a few of these on the table as well. Now I've got the Strigon and Vordak as well. I can hit 75 points. Slightly regretting only buying 1 of each. But we don't know how many are going to be across the box sets. So I know we've got 1 more character Warbeast, who I suspect is going to be the only Warbeast in that box. But I suspect the other box is going to be 2 of as well. or one of each. We know we get one of each in the Death Whisper box, but obviously with limited loadout options. Hoping by that point though that my mini factory has done the optional extra arms and heads like they have for the other factions. I got to wait until the end of next week to find out. They're being quite tight-lipped about the Warmachine 3D stuff as always. Once I got those, it doesn't matter that there's only limited options in the boxes though. Just trying to debate whether I buy 2 of the Death Whispers. Gonna want 2 of the Fane Stalkers. That then would give me 3 of each of the War Beasts. So potentially going to end up with lots of extra War Beasts. But they did also say that some of the units are going to appear in more than one box as well. And in the Death Whisper box, well, you get the Blood Sirens. It'd be the Blood Sirens, the doubles of the War Beasts, and the Fane Stalkers. That you can use 2 of each. And with the Fane Stalkers, you're probably going to want 2 of those there. They seem very good for a faction that's supposedly got very limited shooting. Their shooting seems pretty on point. But, we'll see. I might wait and see. Order 1 Death Whisper box, and then when the next ones are announced, then double up. So I've already doubled up on the Executioner's Toll because I knew I wanted more of the solo that was in there, the Strigon Rider. Who I don't actually have out on my desk at the moment, but I think I'll probably do a job lot and airbrush. So this is all airbrushed on Sibirith. Brushes are not good enough numbers. No. You need some new brushes. It can still be a little untidy, but depends how perfect and smooth you want yours to be. Yeah, I think what I'll probably do is airbrush these and the 2 Strigon Riders that I've got all at the same time up to this stage, and then go through and paint them individually from there, but I'll get quite a lot done in one go. Okay. Getting to the end of this. Starting to look how I want it. Just taking a few layers on this. The Scrofulous Brown is not the strongest pigment wise, but you can see in here this is starting to really have a nice gradient on it. So the advantage of it is it's easy to kind of glaze it up. But that means you've got to do lots of layers. So. Okay. We're getting there. Getting there. It's the part of the printing process when you're doing painting videos that you cut out. And another layer, and another layer. But we're warts and all tonight, so there we go. Okay, and then finally onto the Scrofulous Brown. Largely just edge highlighting this bit, I think. This is a nice quick step. There we go. Go a little bit quicker. This is giving me the effect that I wanted. I didn't want it to look polished. I want it to look quite brown and murky. Just with a hint that it used to be potentially a nicer colour. Okay. Just reinforcing the edges. Right, the armor swords can stay clean. Yeah. Yeah, I know what you mean. They're much more likely to look after the killy bit, but then that's this bit, isn't it? This is all like the rune plating and the bits, so yeah. Last little bit here. Shub. And then I think if we push a little bit of this, oh, actually, I have a cunning plan. If we try and go into each of these recesses with a white, then when we put the nice turquoise on for the verdigris, potential that we can use it for the glow in the runes as well. A little bit of hobby cheating there. Quite difficult to get in there to get those ones, but shoop. This is the bit where doing it with oil paints would make this way easier. There we go. If in doubt, wipe it off with the end of your finger, yeah? Hello, dog of whining. Yeah. Beautiful dog. Big old German Shepherd puppy that apparently needs attention. And a fly. King of the animals tonight. Okay. Right, that's all the little glowy runes. A little bit more white into this one. Right. And then just push a little bit of verdigris into the gaps there. So a few of the recessed bits should sit quite nicely around these little bolts on here. And here, I'm not going to use the verdigris on the runes. I'm going to use a different turquoise because it'll look a bit odd otherwise, I think. Now the dog has found a squeaky toy. She's going to come right as close to the microphone as she can get with the squeaky toy, so apologies, but no, you can't have the turquoise paint. It's not for dogs. Okay. So this is a little bit of a richer turquoise than the verdigris. It's not quite as pale, so hopefully it will stand out nicely. And it's the same one that I used on my house callus. So again, tying the armies just in together just a little bit. I'll say they're never going to be fielded at the same time, but just means that there's that little tie together and they can look good next to each other, which I quite like. I'd do the same if I was doing, Storm Legion and Gravediggers. I'd try and keep some consistency across them, and Khador and Old Umbrae, stuff like that. So there we go. So she's looking nice with the glowy bits. I think we're pretty good. So we just got the black to tidy up, and then we're going to do the base. And squeak, squeak, squeak. Yeah. It's very professional of you, Sasha. Thank you for your help. Just unclog this. Paper clips saving the day, as always. I much prefer dropper bottles over the GW pots, but obviously dropper bottles can clog, so just keep some on hand things. Oh, we should have done the runes in the thing, but we'll do them in the same glow, but need to decide what colour that is going to be. Not too much overspill onto the black plating, to be fair. We've been fairly good at keeping under control. step one is just tidy up and make sure any overspill's done, and my black plating is super quick and slightly cheaty. So I'm going to keep this big chunk in the middle black as well. I think it looks good, offsets the brighter silver and the nice glowy bits with a nice dark chunk in the middle there. So just that on. We've got some little leather straps in here as well that we need to pick out, but let's just, while I'm looking at them, just quickly grab those now. Another one there, another one there. And then we've got to do all the little hair bangles. I think red is the answer. I think we do them all red. There's lots of them, and I'm blatantly going to miss some, aren't I? Slightly smaller brush. The tip is ever slightly failing on that one, so the problem with this one is it doesn't hold that much paint, so I have to keep going back and topping up. Yeah. Another little one there. Oh, some of these are quite hard to spot. But they are nicely sculpted, so they are easy to actually paint without getting it on the hair. We've got some glowy runes to do on that shoulder plate as well. All of them? Yeah, it looks like it. Let's fill in this rune. We're going to be slightly cheeky and just paint it in and then wipe over it. And that needs a second to dry, so just highlight all my bangles. Okay. Oh, and this one. And this one. And the squeaky toy is back. Hello. Look very happy. And then again. Okay. So what we're just going to do is edge some of these black plates. Just for a little bit of definition in here. This is back to the cold grey again. Just putting in some highlights here and there. So mostly we're just edging it where we've got the quite vibrant non-metallic metals and the glows and things. We don't want to overload anything, so the black's not going to get a huge amount of attention. So we're not going to worry too much about it. Just want to make it look like we put some effort in. Even though, actually, we really haven't. And that's about that. So we've got the big rock to go, and then a dry brush and then basing. So what we're going to do, here's one of my favourite rock colours. It's scale 75 petroleum grey. So this is like a bluey browny kind of grey. It's got quite a nice like tonal variation in it. So I'm going to block that on. And it so the problem with normally painting stone is a lot of people just kind of go in with a fairly neutral grey and then another neutral grey to highlight, and you don't end up with any kind of colour in it. And a natural stone has got lots of blues and greens and browns and stuff in it. So having this as the shadow colour just gives us that tone variation quite nicely. So we're going to go over this with a neutral grey and then potentially pick out some areas with some like greens or blues or things just to add in some variation to the surface. But I mean, it's a rock that she stood on, so I don't want to spend vast amounts of time on it. But it's not just a slab of grey. So let's make sure we don't treat it as such. There's also another point where we can think about, right, where we've got quite a warm colour scheme for like the big cloak and things, we've got lots of red and yellows and things on the model. So what colours do we want to offset that with for the base? So having the colder colours and things now could be quite advantageous. So we'll probably pick a cool grey to use, and in fact I'll probably use that cold grey that we've been using elsewhere. As our highlight colour. It's quite a strong contender. It's already on the palette for starters. That always helps. Here I'm not too worried about letting this dry as well. So actually we're going to come in and let this kind of mix a little bit in places, almost like a very dirty wet blend, just because where we want it to be quite a natural feeling thing, having a reasonable blend between stuff will work quite well. We don't need huge amounts of contrast on this because it's a basing thing. It doesn't need to drag the user's attention as much. You know, we're not saying, "Oh, look at this epic piece of rock on the base." You know, we want people to look at the model, not this. So it's not that we want to make it boring, or flat, but it just doesn't need to have the same pop that we've got in the model. So here I'm also kind of stippling this in a little bit, moving the brush around a little bit just to blur it, but and then what we'll do once we've highlighted this up, we'll then do probably a wash over it just to kind of pull it all together a little bit. And then up here. So again, this isn't 2 seconds. Hello, dog. Yes. So again, when you're painting natural formations and things, it doesn't have to be neat and tidy. Nature very rarely is. Except for all the hexagons at the Giant's Causeway, they look kind of neat and tidy, don't they? Okay. Then edges on some of this. Probably jumped a little bit too much there, but again, we're gonna hit it with the wash in a minute and bring it back down. So use a similar technique to when we did the cloth as well, and just dash at the edges a little bit, and then stipple the bottom of this again, and down the edges of the lines and sculpted bits on there. Just where we've done those nice neat edges, just going to go and poke at them and stipple around them a little bit. That'll just blur them in a little bit more. Quite a big area of rock, so we don't want to spend huge amounts of time on it. So there's nice cracks in here, which if I were feeling more generous with the time I wanted to spend on this, maybe I could highlight all of the edges of these little cracks in here and do it, but it's a rock. I don't want to spend all my time on a rock. That's looking pretty good. So I'm just going to grab, oh, where are all my tones gone? Cheeky little bit of the army painted dark tone. And then we're just going to water that right down. It does not need to be particularly thick. So you can see on there, it's nice and translucent. And we'll just bring some of that together. Push it into the recesses a bit around here as well. Let it sit a bit thicker in any recesses and things that you want. And then just thin it out elsewhere. It just kind of brings it all together quite nicely. There we go. Okay. So just going to do a little dry brush over the earth on the base whilst that ink wash dries. I think this is, the tip is suitably given up on this brush now, so relegated to dry brushing. And again, here it doesn't matter if any of this gets up onto that stone that we've just been doing. It adds a bit more variation to it all. So and it was quick and easy enough to paint that stone that we can go back and tidy it up if we muck something up here. So we go. Okay. I'm looking pretty close to done at this point. I think the only thing to do is these runes on the base. And we're going to see if we can just pick those big old Tifas out, because she's got big old vamp fangs going on. It's looking good. Let's add a little bit more definition to these fingers. A little bit more highlight there. Maybe a tiny more on her nose. Okay. So, see how easily we can paint in these runes. A lot chunkier than the ones on the armor, so Sorcerer deserves a puppy cam. Sorcerer's clattered off again, so but if she comes back, right. I can hear her munching away in the kitchen, so I've gone back for some dinner. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take some of my thinned dark tone and we're just going to push the shadows at the top of the hair a little bit. Just in some of these little spots where I think it needs a little more definition. Next to these red bangles is prime target for it. Oh, we've missed a bangle up there. Rubbish. Sort that out. Sort it out. Shoop. I knew it. I knew we'd miss one. Okay. So just hit the blue on these. Where these are a bit chunkier, I think we're probably going to want to do a little highlight on these runes as well. Just a little bit of the white into that turquoise, just to give us a little more depth on these. There we go. That's a Hysene pretty much done and dusted. I've been going for about 3 hours now, so yeah. And that's not bad. Just some bits to go on the base, and then and we're all good. So I'm gonna call it there for the evening. If you have enjoyed watching me paint that and you want to see more, hit subscribe, come and join us. We've got our Discord, we do hobby hangouts where you can chat with us while we're painting as well. But yeah, next up I think it's going to be Cerberus. There we go. Sorsha has re-arrived. Sorsha. Oh, for puppy cam. No, she's not. So, and then yeah, come join us, and I'll pop a little reveal picture up also on our Instagram, and I'll do a post for it as well once she's all based and ready. Thanks very much, and have a good evening.